in music composition. My name is Mark Satterwhite. I have the privilege of being the co-chair of the Grawemeyer Award in music composition this year. And I have a couple of introductions and a couple of very brief remarks. I want to leave as much time as possible over for our distinguished guest. I should mention, as I said, I am the co-chair of this award. My co-chair and the chair for many years of the award, who is stepping down, and the next year I'll be the chair. I would like to extend an appreciation to my colleague Paul Brink, who has run this award efficiently and well for many years. Paul? I see in the audience many friends of new music, many friends of the School of Music, far more than I could introduce individually, and I'd leave somebody out, so I just want you to know that I see you and I appreciate you. I would like to point out, though, we do have one of Mr. Grawemeyer's daughters in the audience. Nancy Grawemeyer Robbins and her husband Don Robbins are here from their home in Ithaca, New York, if we could recognize them. You all should have a copy of Ms. Chin's very impressive biography, so I won't go over that with you. I would just like to say, as a composer, that I'm deeply envious of the commissions and the performances that I see on that biography. Take my word for it, as a composer, that's a very impressive set of achievements. In my 10 years now being associated with this award, it's been an interesting thing to see that sometimes the award goes to someone who's an established master of the field. Sometimes it goes to someone who is relatively young at a relatively early start of the career. And I think that mix of composers has been very interesting to see. And also, we are now starting to get into our second generation of Grawemeyer composers, in the sense that last year's winner, Kaysar Yaho, was a student of a former Grawemeyer winner, Pierre Boulez, and our winner this year, Unsuk Chin, was a student of Georgi Ligeti, one of the early Grawemeyer Award winners, and I'm sure that within another decade or two, we'll have third generation Grawemeyer composers visiting us here in Louisville. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce this year's award winner, Ms. Unsuk Chin, and our own Kim Lloyd will be acting as translator for her. Thanks for coming, and see you later.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear? Yeah. Loud. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming, and it is very nice to meet you here. First, I must apologize. I will not speak English because my English is not good enough, so I will speak German, and it will be translated. So, erstens, ich möchte ein wenig über meine Biografie sprechen, besonders über die Zeit zwischen meiner Geburt und vor meinem Studium an der Universität.
Okay, I would like to speak of my biography from the time when she was born to the time that she was actually studying composition.
Als ich 4 Jahre alt war, ich habe angefangen Klavier zu spielen, und Klavierspielen war für mich die einzige Leidenschaft, und ich wollte gerne Pianistin werden.
She studied the piano for 4 years, and for her the study of piano was the first thing in which that she wanted to be a pianist.
Aber in der Zeit, 60er Jahre in Korea, wir hatten sehr viele Probleme, wir waren sehr arm, und meine Eltern konnten für Klavierlesson nicht bezahlen, und deswegen habe ich mich mit 12 Jahren entschieden, Komponistin zu werden, weil es vielleicht billiger war.
Okay. And when she was 16 years old, the times were hard in Korea. They were very poor and they couldn't afford the piano lessons. So I think from the time of 12, she was told that it was better to be a composer. You make a little more money.
Oh, it was cheap.
Yeah, it was cheaper, sorry.
Und in der Zeit, ich war wirklich besessen von der Musik. Ich habe sehr viel Musik gehört.
She was very, possessed with music, and she had a lot of music that she had heard up until that time.
Aber in der Zeit, ich hatte wenig Möglichkeit, all diese Informationen zu kriegen und selbst so eine Partitur eines Chors zu haben, das war nicht leicht.
Yeah, because of it being poor, they didn't have a lot of things for which she could learn the music, but one of the things, for instance, scores and things, and I'll let her tell you the rest.
Und deswegen zum Beispiel, ich habe eine Partitur von Tchaikovskys 6. Symphonie von jemandem geliehen und ich habe alles abgeschrieben vom ersten Satz bis zum letzten.
Yeah, so she learned Tchaikovsky
Sixth.
She learns Tchaikovsky 6th by copying it note for note from the score and then learning it.
Und ich hatte in der Zeit gar keine Klavierunterricht, auch für Komposition hatte ich keinen Unterricht. Ich habe mir alles selbst beigebracht.
She hadn't had any lessons up until that time, so she was studying the piano herself and also studying composition herself. So she was, in other words, self-prepared up until the time that she went to college.
Ja, und als ich klein war, für mich die erste Musikunterricht sozusagen war in der Kirche, wo mein Vater als Presbyterian gearbeitet hat.
She had from a very young age been interested in music and part of music, and her first time with music was in the church because her father was a Presbyterian minister.
Ich musste da den Gottesdienst begleiten und das heißt alle Gesänge vom Blatt lesen und wenn die Leute ein bisschen höher gesungen hatten, dann musste ich das transponieren und um einen halben Ton höher spielen oder halben Ton tiefer spielen. Das war eine sehr gute training für mich.
So she, in the church service, she played the piano for the service for the hymns, and when the singers would either go flat or sharp, she would just transpose what she was playing. She would read it, and then she would just go to whatever key that they were singing in. And this was obviously she has pitch, and this was a very good way for her to learn.
Ja, und das war für mich die erste Training für Harmonielehre, Harmonie in westliche Musik.
So this is the playing in the church and doing this type of thing was the first of her education in Western music and harmony, voice leading, etc. The students will know about that.
Und außerdem habe ich als Kind mit 7 oder 8 angefangen, Geld zu verdienen, als Pianist bei der Hochzeit. Ich habe Wedding March gespielt und habe ein bisschen Geld verdient oder ab und zu mal einen Keks oder.
She, when she was younger, she made money by playing for weddings.
Und ich habe, als ich 18 Jahre alt war, habe ich zum ersten Mal die Aufnahmeprüfung an der Musikhochschule gemacht und durchgefallen. Und im nächsten Jahr bin ich nochmal durchgefallen und bei der dritten Versuch habe ich bestanden. Und so habe ich angefangen zu spielen. Ja.
Yeah, so when she was 18-year-old, she took an examination to go to the university, but she took it 3 times. And the third time, she succeeded and then could go on to school.
So, an der Universität, ich hatte Glück, bei einem Professor zu studieren, der gerade aus Deutschland zurückkam mit allen möglichen Informationen.
She was very lucky to study, and this is Suki Kang.
Suki Kang.
Her teacher at the university, who had studied in Germany and came back with a lot of information to teach the students at the university there.
Und durch ihn konnte ich zum ersten Mal hören oder lernen von Musik von Stockhausen oder Boulez oder Nono und Ligeti. Und das war für mich eine wahnsinnig frische Information.
So this was at the time when she got into the university and when she was studying with Suki Kang. This was the first time that she would hear such composers as Stockhausen, Boulez, Ligeti, and so for her this was a very, very fresh or new and inspiring music to hear.
Und automatisch habe ich angefangen, Musik zu komponieren, imitiert von dieser Musik, was ich damals gehört hatte. Also sehr stark beeinflusst von deutschen Avantgarde-Musik.
Yeah, so as this was when she began at the university, began to formally study composition, and then she heard these composers, she therefore is very influenced by the German avant-garde music.
So hatte ich mit einigen Stücken, was ich damals als Studentin komponiert hatte, auch ein bisschen Erfolg, habe ich Preise bekommen und hatte mein Stück wurde auch ausgewählt für ein großes Musikfestival.
So at the end of that, and that was 1984?
Yes.
In 1984, she composed as a student, and then she composed the piece Gestalten.
Mhm.
Yeah, and for a very large music festival, and was rewarded the first prize for that.
Und in der Zeit habe ich gedacht, neue Musik, Contemporary Musik muss so sein. Und ich habe eigentlich gar keine andere Möglichkeit in der Musik gekannt.
And at that time, she discovered that contemporary music, or the avant-garde, but contemporary music is what she must do, and the music that she would work with, and then she realized that became the important thing that she would then follow.
So, nach meinem Studium in Korea kam ich nach Deutschland, nach Hamburg, bei Ligeti zu studieren.
So after she studied in Korea, I think in 1985, she went to study with Ligeti.
Und ich war sehr schockiert beim ersten Treffen mit ihm, weil er meine Stücke gesehen hat und gesagt hat, ich soll alles wegschmeißen.
So she was very shocked when she came to her first lesson with him, and he kind of said that everything that she did, she needs to now change and carry on in a different vein.
Er sagte, solche Musik hat man hier in Europa seit 30, 40 Jahren gemacht und es ist alt und das ist nicht meine Musik.
Yeah, so the music that she was composing, he said, this is 20 or 30 years old, this has been going on, and that's old music, and that's not what he does. And so he wanted her to then begin something new.
Und da ist, das war für mich so, als würde die ganze Welt zusammenbrechen.
And that was, that was so shocking for her that this was what would come together for the whole world.
Und ich habe danach einfach aufgehört zu komponieren und fast für 3 Jahre lang überhaupt nicht mehr komponiert.
Yeah, and this was such a difficult time and change that for 3 years she didn't compose.
Weil Ligeti war damals schon ein Großmeister und er hatte seine eigene Sprache gefunden und er hat, wenn er Sachen kritisiert hatte, er hat das immer zu irgendwelchen Mozart-Klavierkonzert verglichen.
Okay. It was such a time, because he was such a great master, that it was as though one were studying with Mozart and dealing with that type of genius, that was the reason that she felt that she couldn't compose and had for 3 years didn't.
Und dann nach 3 Jahren bin ich nach Berlin umgezogen und dann habe ich langsam angefangen wieder zu komponieren.
And so after 3 years she moved to Berlin and then began to start to compose again.
Und ich habe da versucht, beim Komponieren eine gewisse Möglichkeit für neue Harmonie zu suchen.
And it was at that time that she began to look for new harmonies or new, not exactly tonality, but a new sound that would then become what she would do.
Und Ich habe seitdem einige Stücke komponiert, wo ich meine Suche nach neuen Harmonie fortgesetzt habe.
That's it. Okay, so, and since that time, her searching for this new harmony, this new language, is still progressing. So I believe in her mind that it's not finished yet.
Und parallel dazu habe ich angefangen, mich für die Musik aus anderen Ländern, sozusagen traditionelle Musik, auch aus Korea und auch aus Afrika zum Beispiel, auch sehr stark Indonesien zu interessieren.
Yeah, and it was at that time that she discovered music of other lands, for instance, Korea, Africa, and Indonesia.
Und ich war zweimal in Indonesien, in Bali gewesen, und ich habe sehr viel Gamelan-Musik gehört und auch gelernt und Transkriptionen gemacht.
Yeah. So she was twice in Indonesia, and she very much liked the music of the gamelan, and so she would transcribe that music to learn more about it.
Und Gamelan-Musik war für mich sehr frisch, weil die Musiker, die das spielen, das sind keine professionellen Musiker.
This music was very new to her and fresh to her because the people that were playing it were not professional musicians.
Und was jeder spielt, rhythmisch ist es sehr, sehr simpel, aber wenn die mehrere Linien übereinander kommen, dann das Ganze ergibt sich eine unwahrscheinliche Komplexität.
Yeah. So each line that each player would play, and a gamelan, for those of you, and I didn't quite know exactly what it looks like a vibraphone a little bit, but it's much smaller. Each person would play one line, and as they put the lines together, the one line is very simple, but as they put the lines together, it becomes more and more complex.
Und auch die Klangfarbe von dieser Musik, von diesem mikrotonalen Metallophon, und das hat mich auch fasziniert, und ich habe seitdem sehr viel Versuche gemacht, diese Klangfarbe in meine Musik zu integrieren.
Yeah. So the tone color and the micro pitches inherent in this music was very interesting to her, and so she tries to have that tone color and that sense of micro pitch in her music.
Und was mich bei Gamelan-Musik fasziniert hat, ist, dass die Musik sehr beweglich ist, komplex und beweglich. Zum Beispiel bei balinesischer Gamelan begleitet meistens Theater oder Tanz. Und je nach dem Inhalt der Geschichte kann die Musik sich bewegen von einem Zustand zu dem anderen ganz schnell. So.
Okay.
Ja,
Okay. She was very fascinated also with another part of gamelan music. It comes from the theater or the dance, and one thing that really interested her, I think inherent, is the drama, and then also it can change very quickly from one thing to the next.
So, diese Gamelan-Musik, das ist nur ein Einfluss, also eine Seite, und außerdem gibt es sehr viele andere Musik, die mich interessieren, aber selbst wenn ich diesen Einfluss in meine Musik integriere, das heißt nicht, dass meine Musik Gamelan ist oder koreanische traditionelle Musik, das ist, all diese Elemente werden dann in meine eigene Idee verschmolzen.
It's very important that her music doesn't sound like gamelan music. It's just the gamelan music and music of Korea have influenced her music at the very elemental level. So when you hear her music, it's not going to sound Korean or Indonesian. So maybe, I'm jumping ahead a little bit only because I know what's coming. The pitch, her choices of pitch or how she writes for the violin has to do with maybe how the gamelons, when they play, that they are in perfect fifths apart, and how they create harmony. So you're not going to hear something that sounds Korean or Indonesian.
Ja, okay. Und das Wichtigste für mich ist, wenn ich komponiere, ist, dass ich eine Musik mache, die nicht nur meine Komponistenkollegen befriedigen, sondern etwas breitere Masse, dass meine Musik etwas breitere Masse anspricht.
The most important thing for her in her music is not, and when she writes music, is not that it should be of interest to her compositional colleagues, but that the music speaks to everyone. And I'll add, regardless of the amount of music education that you've had, just anyone sitting there can be communicated to by the sounds that she creates.
Und was ich gerade gesagt habe, wenn ich das ein bisschen ausführlich erkläre, dass eine Musik, natürlich, also meine Musik hat seine intellektuelle Seite, das muss man auch haben, aber selbst wenn die Leute, die nicht so viel Erfahrung haben mit solcher neue Musik, selbst wenn die das hören, die sollen etwas erfahren von der Musik auf gewisse Ebene, auf ihre eigene Weise.
Okay. She wanted to make more clear that there is an intellectual aspect to her music, of course, but it's for when people that haven't heard new music come to hear new music, that it is something to which they are immediately accessible, and it is not something that is, she said, shocking before in another conversation, so that it's music that they can get close to, in other words.
Und ich versuche immer, wenn ich ein Stück schreibe, gewissermaßen leuchtende Farbe und Wärme und Freude an andere Leute zu vermitteln.
Yeah, the music also, it's when she creates it, it has to do with orchestral color, as much as tonal color, and bringing out things like the warmth of the sound and the cold of the sound. That makes sense.
Okay. So, jetzt kommen wir zu meinem Violinkonzert. Mein Violinkonzert ist das zweite Konzert, was ich geschrieben habe.
Yeah. So now she'll talk about her violin concerto, and the violin concerto is the second concerto that she has written.
Als erstes habe ich Klavierkonzert geschrieben und dann dieses Violinkonzert, und als Vorbild habe ich immer Ligeti's-Konzert in meinem Kopf gehabt.
Okay, the first concerto was a piano concerto, and then she wrote the violin concerto, and very much Ligeti's concertos were in her head as she was writing these concertos.
Aber als ich angefangen hatte, dieses Violinkonzert zu schreiben, ich hatte wirklich ein großes Problem, weil ich wollte eine Musik schreiben, die neu ist, aber trotzdem wollte ich niemanden provozieren oder schockieren.
But when she began to write the violin concerto, she had a great problem, and that she wanted to create something new. However, she didn't want to create something shocking to listeners.
Und das zweite Problem war, dass ich bin Pianist und von Violin, ich kann für Violine schreiben, aber weil ich selbst nicht das Instrument spiele, dann gibt es gewisse Schwierigkeiten bei gewissen technischen Fragen.
Yeah, so also the second problem might be that since she's a pianist, she of course can write for violin. However, being not a violin player, she might not be aware of technical problems created by what she may be writing for the violin.
Deswegen habe ich sehr intensiv mit der Solistin zusammengearbeitet, während ich dieses Werk geschrieben habe.
Yeah, so she worked very intensely with Vivian Hagner, the violinist who then premiered her work, and they worked, and I know this from another conversation, she would write, Vivian would practice and then come back and play for her and tell her, you know, this works or that doesn't work. And of course Vivian's career also is in playing new works. So I think both of them together were able to find this new sound.
Und dieser Arbeitsprozess zwischen uns war sehr wichtig für mich, weil im Gegensatz zum Klavier ist das Instrument Violin nach meiner Meinung etwas begrenzt in ihrer Möglichkeit.
So in the work method of writing for the violin and then having the violinist come and play was difficult, but then also for her as a pianist, because we could play many notes at one time and all sorts of things, she felt that that the violin was a little more limited.
So habe ich als Zentralidee für dieses Stück die 4 Leerseiten von Violin genommen.
So the central idea for
Harmony.
the central idea, the central harmony for the violin concerto is from the 4 strings of the violin, the open strings, so G, D, A, E.
Und das Stück fängt mit diesen Leerseiten an und die Natural Harmonics von jeder Seite kommen dazu und dann noch andere Elemente kommt drauf und also die ganze Struktur wächst.
Okay, so from the open string come, of course, from each string, the natural harmonic series that comes off of each string. So those things combine, starting from there, then the music then gets bigger and bigger and kind of composed out from that.
So, das Stück besteht aus 4 Sätze.
The violin concerto is in 4 movements.
Ich glaube, wir haben nicht so viel Zeit über die einzelnen Sätze. Dieses Konzert, ich möchte sagen, was dieses Konzert anders ist als klassische oder romantische Konzert. Die Konzerte, die wir kennen, sind Stücke, wo das Orchester und Soloinstrument Dialoge machen oder dass das Orchester das Soloinstrument begleitet.
So in writing the concerto, in the romantic and classical concerto setting, the orchestra and the solo instrument have a dialogue back and forth, but she was wanting to get away from that, but making them both equal.
Und das Stück ist nicht nur ein Konzert für die Solistin, sondern auch für das Orchester.
Yeah, so it's a concerto not only for the soloist, but also for the orchestra.
Orchestra Part ist auch sehr, sehr schwierig.
Yeah, the orchestra part is very, very difficult.
Ja. Jetzt hören wir das.
Okay, so at this time she would like to, the concerto is about 25 minutes long, the whole thing, all 4 movements, and she would like now to play from beginning to end and to let us listen. So we'll bring down the lights a little bit and we'll turn on the music and we can listen.
Wenn Sie Fragen haben?
Maybe a few questions, and anybody, I know students have to go to class, so feel free to go since we're actually out of time, but she wouldn't mind answering some questions if you had some. Or if you actually have questions, you might, since so many of the students are leaving, you might come forward and ask them directly to her too. Probably that might be a better idea. Dr. Satterwhite.
Was ich gemacht habe in dieser Zeit. Ich habe in dieser 3 Jahre habe ich kaum was gemacht. Das war wirklich so ein Dilemma. Ich habe nicht nur nicht komponiert, sondern auch also kaum Musik gemacht. Ich war also richtig in Depression. Lessons, ich bin hingegangen und manchmal bin ich auch gar nicht hingegangen, weil das Ganze für mich einfach zu großer Druck war. Ich habe die Frage nicht verstanden, weil was ich in dieser Zeit alleine gemacht habe oder wie dieser Unterricht von ihm war. Der Unterricht, wir hatten eigentlich keinen so konkreten Plan für diesen Unterricht. Und wenn er Lesson hatte, wir trafen uns meistens um 2 Uhr und dann das ging den ganzen Tag bis 10 Uhr abends.
The reason that she wasn't composing was that because it was what she had to do was so much pressure and so overwhelming that in the lesson wasn't a concrete plan. She could go for 1 or 2 hours, but then it wasn't like you had exercises to make or something like that. No, it was less organized or concrete than that. Yeah.
Und wir haben sehr, sehr viel Musik gehört bei ihm. Er hat uns alles Mögliche vorgestellt, nicht nur neue Musik, auch Jazz, sehr viel traditionelle Musik aus Afrika oder aus anderen Ländern oder andere Stücke von seinen Kollegen. Das war also so eine Mixture aus allen möglichen Informationen.
A lot of listening to his music, to music of others, Africa, jazz, and his colleagues. So they spent a lot of time listening to music, and I would suspect discussing what was in the music in the lesson.
Und in der Zeit, ich war 24 Jahre alt, sehr jung, naiv und sehr fremd in Europa. Und ich habe ich habe nicht verstanden, was er gesagt hat. Kaum.
24, 25, and she was so young, and then in Europe, and she didn't understand maybe what he wanted, so it was kind of I think it took 3 years to kind of just get used to what was going on, and because of that, she was unable to compose new things.
Aber alles, was ich von ihm damals in dem Unterricht gehört habe, was ich damals nicht verstanden habe, das war praktisch eine Hilfe für das ganze Leben danach, weil wenn ich mich jetzt daran erinnere, ich lerne immer noch davon.
Even when she was not necessarily understanding, she was hearing everything, and it's kind of a life teaching situation where each thing was kind of building on the next, and she was kind of growing from the inside out. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Und was für mich sehr gut war, wenn Ligeti ein Stück kritisiert. Sein Maßstab ist sehr, sehr hoch. Und
when he criticized her, his standard, standard was very, very high.
Ja, und zum Beispiel mein Stück damals, normale Leute hätten gesagt, das wäre gut, aber für ihn war das nicht gut genug.
Yeah, most of the times when you bring something and the teacher says, "Oh, that's very good," when with him that's not good enough.
Und das war also nicht nur für mich, sondern für alle anderen Studenten sehr, sehr schwierig, weil seine Kritik sehr, sehr hart war. Und sogar, wenn jemand ein Stück gezeigt hat, dann hat er diese Papierkorb, Fläschchen gegeben und dann er soll das da wegschmeißen. Ligeti hat das dem gesagt.
Ooh, that's difficult. Oh, okay. He was so critical that when a student would bring something to look at, for him to look at, he would say no and put it in the trash.
Aber ich habe irgendwann das verstanden, warum er so sein konnte. Aber er war nicht nur zu anderen Leuten so kritisch, sondern zu sich selbst war er viel kritischer. Zu sich selbst, für Ligeti
Yeah.
selbst.
And so from before, she said that it wasn't, he didn't throw something of hers away, but from some of the other students. And then also, she was wondering why he was so critical, and really he was self-critical. So that it was more of a self-critical thing that made him seem so hard to please, if that makes sense.
Ich erinnere mich an eine Szene, wo wir während des Unterrichts ein Klavierkonzert von Mozart gehört haben. Jeder sagte Mozart, das kennt man. Und wir haben das bis zum Ende gehört und als das Stück zu Ende ging, Ligeti saß auf dem Sofa und er sang so unter dem Sofa und er war völlig fertig und er sagte, Gott, das ist so schöne Musik und ich habe nichts gemacht in meinem Leben.
For instance, an example was they were just listening to a Mozart concerto, and at the end of which he sat down on his couch and kind of covered his head and said, "This was so beautiful, I can't begin to do that." So you've got to get a big picture of Ligeti.
So, und diese Haltung habe ich auch von ihm gelernt und ich versuche immer sehr, sehr distanziert und kritisch zu meiner eigenen Musik zu stehen.
So she learned this kind of, I guess, great admiration for the great composers from him, and so then she also became very self-critical and it would be distancing herself from what she was writing too, and I think that was part of not being able to write for a couple, 3 years.
Und wenn man als Komponist arbeitet, man kriegt viele Kritiken, manchmal gute und schlechte, aber selbst die schlechteste Kritik über meine Musik, das ist weniger schlecht als meine eigene Kritik zu meiner eigenen Musik.
Yeah, composers are always having their music. Is it good or is it bad? But as a composer, you're probably your most critical. And for her, she was the most critical of music and critical in that it was not good. Yeah.
Das heißt, ich bin die beste Kritikerin für meine Musik, eigene Musik.
Yeah, so so for that reason, she's the best critic for her music. Yeah, as one would be, we would all be the most critical of ourselves.
This whole lady sounds very traumatic. How did you come to have lessons with Lady? How did that come about?
Wie ich dazu kam. Als ich in Korea war, ich habe einige Komponisten gehört, Stockhausen, Boulez und Ligeti. Und Ligeti war der einzige, seine Musik hat mich am meisten angesprochen. Und deswegen bin ich dann zu ihm gegangen.
Yeah, when she was a student in Korea, she was brought to all those new composers by her teacher there, and Ligeti spoke to her the most strongly. And so then she wanted to go and study with him.
Nein, ich bin nach Deutschland gekommen und dann ihn getroffen.
Yeah, she won a prize in '84, but then she was given funds to go study in Germany, and then when she was there, then she made contact with him and was able to study with him.
Diese Klangfarbe, das ist einfach von Einfluss von sehr, sehr vielen verschiedenen Musik und auch so Visionen, was ich also in mir selbst habe. Ich habe immer, wenn ich komponiere oder Musik höre, ich habe gewisse Visionen aus Licht und Farben, was ich immer vor meinen Augen sehe. Und das versuche ich dann in meine Musik zu integrieren. Also natürlich, also die Einfluss kommt von außen, aber die meisten, das kommt von mir selbst.
Okay. There are many, many influences from all the music that she hears. When that sound comes, she also has sound in her head, light and different lights and colors in her head that equal sounds. So all of these things from outside come in, but then the best sound that when she composed comes from after that kind of being digested, as it were, and coming out from her. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's like there are lots of music that are influencing you, but you think about it and you listen to lots of different ones, and then the music in your head begins, and after a while that's worked around until her music comes out. That would make more sense to composers than to anyone else. Yeah. Ben, did that answer the question? Yeah, thank you. And the truth of the matter is her English is pretty good. And the only consolation for me is that she's listening to make sure I'm saying the right thing. Yeah. So, but we're probably finished, but if you want to speak with her, I think that would be okay. And that's possible. So.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.